Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chillaxin and Chit-Chattin podcast. I am your host, Miguel Whittle, and I'm here to say, here for the second episode. So I've uploaded my first episode. I uploaded that recently. It was on the 30th of October, so it was a couple of days ago. I recently uploaded my first episode. I recorded it back in um it was like mid sort of it was around mid-October. Apologies for the wait on that. I'll try and upload this video hopefully a bit closer to the time period. I don't know if it'll be this week because I might be busy this week. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm here to say hello everyone and welcome again to episode two. It's here we're in the second episode and two people have sent feedback regarding the podcast saying they really enjoy it, which is really awesome. And for those who are new here, welcome. You can check out my first episode on the YouTube channel, Time Agent MW, which of course is where this video will be on. So let's begin. Let's actually talk a bit about what we're going to be talking about. So, chit chat and wise. Let's try and one thing I want to talk about first is the episode was uploaded on the 30th of October, the first episode, and actually it reminds me a bit about Halloween. Of course, that was the day before Halloween night, Halloween day. I didn't watch anything Halloween related, although I did. I watched Scared Shrekless on Halloween time. I was not able to. I was going to almost watch a horror film, but I got a bit tired. But I am planning to watch some more horror films and probably post them on Letterboxd. My Letterboxd account has got some reviews, although I've been advised in my reviews that I am very overly detailed, so I am gonna try and, you know, basically just go ahead and try and maybe do a shorter reviews, maybe do about 2 pages or something like that. Maybe do short reviews means I can, churn them out more, means like more people will probably want to see them because it might be put people off to read a loads and loads of text. So that's completely fair enough. And I won't say what I've got planned in terms of horror films, but I've got a couple that I want to take a look at, one that I've seen before, and then a couple that I haven't seen before that I'm interested in checking out. I have seen already one horror film on Saturday. It was the Saturday the week before Halloween week. So you'll hopefully see that. But yes, of course, Halloween came round and I don't know if you got any trick or treaters. I didn't, but I did dress up. I remember, yes, last year at university, I remember I dressed up as Freddy Krueger, which was really cool. And I did actually watch Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, which I actually really enjoyed. I thought it was a good horror film. No, not I don't think it jumped me or scared me too much, but it was a good, enjoyable film, and I had a good time with it. And yeah, of course, the only thing as well about Freddy Krueger is that when I got the costume for it, I basically had this like glove that Freddy Krueger has that's got these sharp like knives or blades on them. And the thing is, when I got the costume, the middle finger one wasn't working. The button had come off a bit loose and I had to get it with some tape. But it was just funny because if I just had my tape, I would do this. Apologies for that rude sort of like language there for anyone who feels a bit offended by this. But yeah, I had one finger that wasn't working, which was that. So my microphone has fallen off a little bit. I'm trying to make it stand a bit, trying to make it sort of stand on here. So yeah, I'm trying to make it stand a little bit, so hopefully it should be okay. But yeah, it's a bit of it's trying to balance it on my bed. Basically, this is where I'm recording on my bedroom. I know it's a very professional environment, but yeah, I'm basically just recording through this. Also might be some noise from outside because it's chucking down with rain at the moment. Yeah, it's a bit of not the best weather at the moment, but hey, the one thing as well though about Halloween is going back to that is that once Halloween is ended, we're on to November time. As soon as that happens, I'm seeing now Christmas adverts. And the thing is, my birthday, just a couple of weeks before Christmas, but it is funny that Christmas just hits as soon as Halloween comes is over. It's like bam, it's gone. And you probably saw online Mariah Carey has defrosted, so her song's gonna chop the charts once again. So Christmas is now eventually gonna come into full swing. I don't know when people have their own like holiday spirit in terms of when they get into Christmas. Some people celebrate in October. Like I remember some people put up Christmas decks, and some shops will have little Christmas areas. They don't have them everywhere, of course, because the holiday hasn't come into full. But you'll see little bits there in the corner and everything. It's kind of a bit bizarre. I do actually remember now, going back to my last year at uni as well, before it reached Halloween, that some of my flatmates, I think two of them, were watching Christmas films. They put on like the Santa Claus by starring Tim Allen on there. So that was a bit of a bizarre thing. I was just like, it's not Halloween yet. I always am set. I'm always, for me, I'm always like, wait till Halloween comes through. Wait till maybe like bonfire nights or something. Wait for a bit, and then bam, you can put in your Christmas decks and everything. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm not someone who's gonna immediately put all the Christmas decks everywhere as soon as it like gets to October. Although I am someone who like is fine with maybe watching Christmas films. I know it was a bit odd seeing someone watching Christmas films in October, but I suppose for me it didn't bother me too badly. And I personally would say that if you are going to watch a Christmas film, maybe in like August or whatever, it's like might be not the most like ideal place, perhaps not at Christmas time, but who knows? It's completely fine. I mean, Christmas can be celebrated anytime. You can put on songs or Christmas movies or TV shows at all times. The same thing applies to maybe a TV show actually when you're watching a television show and they have a Christmas episode like The Office or whatever, and you put on there's a Christmas episode on there, and it's like, well, I have to watch it for the storyline type thing. It just has to happen. I can't. It's some Christmas episodes you can't really necessarily skip. It's like that to some that might be an exception. I mean, it's a similar thing to, I guess, we don't have Thanksgiving really in the UK, but I know Thanksgiving is a tradition in America and Canada, for instance. I'm guessing, and I know Friends, the TV show, has loads of Thanksgiving episodes. So, and people won't say, well, we can't watch that because it's at Thanksgiving. I mean, it's not really against the law personally for me. So Christmas songs, movies, or whatever, like holiday themed ones, is completely fine. I mean, people go and watch Halloween films like the Halloween franchise or Scream, which might have some films released in March or whatever, and it's like, but it's not really against the law or anything. It's not a problem there. So it shouldn't be a problem as well to have a Christmas film released, in March or whatever. I mean, to be fair, what was it? Iron Man 3 came out in early 2013, and that's a Christmas film, and it's like bit bizarre, but hey, yeah, it's not going to be too much of a problem, really. People put on Die Hard in the summer or whatever, and it's like, well, that's also what some may say is a Christmas film. Not getting into too much of that, but it's an interesting discussion to have, really. I mean, Christmas is, I mean, with any sort of holidays, I think, it's not really against the law. So I would say, I wouldn't be too fussy over it. I mean, I've sometimes put on like Christmas songs, maybe during not a time at Christmas, like summertime or whatever. Like I put up, what was it? I remember I've put up at some point the song Fairy Tale of New York. It's a great song anyways, apart from obviously one bit that gets cut or whatever. But I enjoy that song a lot, and I think it's fine to probably put that on even when it's not Christmas time. It is a song that mentions Christmas, but it's not always, it's also just a great song, to listen to. It shouldn't be too much of a thing against the law. But anyways, I mean, the thing about Christmas as well, I was thinking, was also down to Australia, because in Australia you guys have it during the summer, and I do wonder about how Christmas is celebrated there, the barbecues and everything, and if they have like these drawings or whatever of Santa wearing sort of like a Hawaiian shirt or something and some shorts. And he's just riding about in a sleigh with some sunglasses in the sun or whatever. It's just a bit funny, really. Um, so yeah, I do wonder about Australia as well and how they celebrate the sort of holidays. But whatever holiday you're celebrating, and I'll mention this when we get to a more festive time period, but I hope you do enjoy your holidays, and I hope those who were celebrating Halloween with their costumes and everything had a pretty darn great time as well. Happy Halloween to everyone, and yeah, we'll see what happens during the festive time period. But I mentioned horror films. I'm going to be talking about them and putting them onto Letterboxd there, so should be very, very exciting and very intriguing. We've got some to watch there. There are ones that are on BBC iPlayer and on Film 4. Two of them from iPlayer, two of them from Film 4. The ones on iPlayer from one director the ones on Film 4 from another director, and they're both horror films from those directors. So very interested, and yeah, you'll see hopefully them soon. I'm going to try and maybe make them my newer reviews, my latest reviews. I'm going to finish up writing one that I've been writing up for and post that online. But yeah, I'll get around to it eventually, and you should see them hopefully not too long. So, hope for the best. But going away from the horror theme and the Halloween theme and everything, talking about the TV shows like The Office in terms of Christmas or Thanksgiving with friends and everything, I want to talk for a bit about some other television, because this episode I'm thinking of it being called is feeling nostalgic, because I do feel very, very nostalgic at the moment. Well, I'm feeling a bit nostalgic because there's some bits I want to talk about, and this was kind of some unexpected plan I had for this episode and what to talk about, because I thought it'd be fun to talk about something that I kind of tried to was like it's a very big sort of memory in the back of my head that I feel like hopefully I can get that for some other people, because this is a very big throwback memory for me, and it's a particular. So what happened is I remember this week I was searching up online, and I remember I was thinking about this thing in the back of my head as to what it was, and I was like, what was this thing that I remember? It was like some sort of TV program that was from the UK, that basically had television shows like Batman the Animated Series, or The Batman as well, the 2004 Batman animated series. It had that on there. A lot of other cartoons were on there, and it was like these American cartoons, but I remember it was British. The presenters were British, and they were in this kind of studio sort of thing. And it took me a while to figure out what it was called. I searched up online for television shows in the UK on Wikipedia, couldn't really get any. There was some that I remembered as well that were mentioned, but it wasn't the ones that I was thinking of. It wasn't the ones I was thinking of until eventually. And the reason I was able to find this was because I remember specifically it was one of the main aspects in the series. And I was like, that makes so much sense as to why I was able to find it, because they were known for putting pies in each other's faces. And so I searched up Pie Face, I think it was. I can't remember what it was. Not the YouTuber or streamer Pie Face. I'm talking about people getting pies in their face. So if I can search up, it was like on YouTube. I can't remember what I searched up. Oh, it was Pie Face UK Kids channels, I believe is what it was. And as I was searching it up, I would think there was some sort of playlist. I believe there was a playlist on somewhere where it was like, yeah, pie videos, I think it was. Or something. No, it wasn't pie videos. It was a different type of playlist, I believe it was. Where it was like a playlist sort of thing where it's like see if I can find it, but it was a playlist that had a number of presenters just getting pie in their face, and it was a sort of it was a very bit of a throwback, and eventually I was able to find it. I'll see if I can find the playlist sort of thing or something like that, where it's like it was somewhere get myself a drink, actually, it's my throat's hurting a bit. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where it was, but it was something that I kind of tried to find. I mean, it's something that I don't know if I can find now, but it was like it was definitely a throwback sort of thing to find online, and I don't know where it was. Well, anyways, I basically was searching it up, pie in the face sort of thing. Apologies for that sort of thing. I was trying to search it up online sort of thing, but I remember it was like pie in the face, and then I found the video, and I was like, right, that's what it was. And then I remembered, and it told me what the name of it was, so I found it. Now, here's the question to you people. Does anyone remember Toon Attic? Does anyone remember this show? Because I remember this. This is a very, very big throwback that was something in the back of my head where I couldn't remember the name of it, but I do remember this show. This wasn't really a show, it was like a program block on a thing in the mornings for ITV, apparently. And basically, you had these two presenters. who I'm trying to see if I can search up their names because I can't remember who the name of the presenters were. Uh, uh, it was Jamie Rickers and Anna Williamson. A recent video I found actually said Jamie Rickers was the guy who sort of helped create it in the first place. But for those who don't know what Toonatic was, basically it was as it says, it was on GMTV, which was like the on-air of CITV on weekends. So it was like the cartoon, it was like a morning sort of television block. And basically it had a selection of both British and imported cartoons from brands mainly such as Disney, Nickelodeon, and Cartoon Network. Because I do remember that, and I saw a video online. They had Batman the Brave and the Bold even there, and that was in like the later time of its later bit of its time because it finished in 2010, 26th December Boxing Day. So it finished around then. But yeah, because it was around late 2000s, early 2010s, that's why it's very early in my head and I can't remember too much of it. But I do remember some aspects to it, and Pie in the Face was something I do remember because I searched up online what it was about, and basically you got these contestants. Basically what would happen is there were these boys and girls. Kids would come onto the show as boys and girls, and then they would get pie the loser in the face because they did these games and activities, and the ones who were losing basically got pied in the face. That was what happened. That was at the end of every episode. So that's why I remember the pie in the face because it was in every segment on. It was every at the end of every Tunatic like sort of a I guess episode is what you would say a broadcast really on every day. So yeah, no, I do remember this. It was such a throwback for me to find this, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about this because I remember this, and I remember they had loads of cartoons on there. They had, I think, about 3 Batman cartoons on there because I know they had the Batman definitely, which was the 2004 um animated show. It's not as popular as the animated series from the 90s. And if I type in the Batman, it comes up with the movie, obviously. But I'm referring to the 2004 TV series called The Batman, which is this one here, which I had some toys of. I had some toys of the characters of the villains and some toys of Batman. Yeah, I think it ran for 5 seasons apparently, so it was a pretty successful one. The one thing as well about this is that Robin here looks like the Robin from Teen Titans, but it's not him. Same, I think, persona of Dick Grayson, but it's not from Teen Titans. It's a different thing. It's from, I think, the same people who worked on Jackie Chan Adventures. So it has that art style look to it. The Joker looks like this. That's Mr. Freeze there. He's cool design for Mr. Freeze. That's not a pun intended, by the way. I think he looks it's a really interesting design on the character, like the ice on his head sort of thing. That's quite cool. That's cool. Then you have Batman. He's got the typical sort of Batman look. It's good. And yeah, you have other characters as well. Like there's Nightwing there, I think it is. That's probably for like a future episode, like a what if scenario of, being set in the far future. Like there's a Dark Knight Returns looking Batman that looks like that sort of thing. But yeah, no, this was a big throwback for me. I mean, Toonatic was a throwback for me, and then this was one of the shows that I remember on it. They had, I think, at least one episode of the animated series, Batman the animated series, which recently got, I think, announced that it was going to be on Netflix. So for those who are interested, it's on Netflix now. This is of course, the classic one from the 90s that became a big influence to the Batman character. So yeah, you had that sort of there was at least one episode I remember was on Toonatic from this animated series. It was one featuring Poison Ivy, I believe. Poison Ivy was, I think, the villain in this take on the character in this animated episode that I saw from this series. And then, of course, 2008 was the year when Batman Brave and the Bold debuted, and that was when it came on. Batman Brave and the Bold. They haven't. I think the Toonatic Wikipedia doesn't say which cartoons specifically were on there. There was quite a lot of different cartoons. I found out SpongeBob apparently was on there, which I don't know if I remember watching SpongeBob on there. But do you know what's funny is SpongeBob gets mentioned in the introduction of we got SpongeBob coming up on Toonatic in an episode, and in the episode I found the host one of the guest hosts or one of the guest people appearing on it is none other than Charlie Brooker, who is the creator behind Black Mirror, there he is there. Charlie Brooker, the creator of Black Mirror, and he's married actually to I think a Blue Peter presenter who actually wrote an episode with him on Black Mirror. It's the second episode of season one. But yeah, it's really bizarre that Charlie Brooker ended up on here. Oh, Charlie Brooker's screenwriter presenting kids' TV shows. I haven't seen this, but I'll have to watch this. But I'm guessing he's talking about when he actually had to present Tunatic. But yeah, it's a bit funny seeing him on there. And they mentioned about SpongeBob on Tunatic. And apparently there was a website. I think I might have been on there maybe once or something. I feel like if they had a lot of cartoons on there, they probably had Ninja Turtles, the 2003 animated series of Ninja Turtles, which was a pretty cool series. I had a DVD of that. It was a DVD of TMNT 2003 actually on and I feel like Toonmatic probably had this on there. This was a very cool little This was a great little cartoon that I haven't watched in ages, but I actually what was it? I'm watching currently the 2012 cartoon, which I'm enjoying actually quite a lot. The final episode of the first season I watched, and that was really good actually. But yeah, I'll get around to this once I finish the 2012 cartoon because yeah, this was a cool cartoon. This was a good one. I remember I had a DVD of it, and it was a DVD called Meet Casey Jones, which had which had obviously the first introduction of Casey Jones. It was this one here. The thing about these DVDs is kind of like I find them to be kind of pathetic in terms of the amount of episodes they had. The episodes are, half an hour long in terms of length. And for this DVD, there's about, I think, 3 episodes, and there's nothing else really on there, no bonus features or anything. It's just like 3 episodes of Ninja Turtles is on there. And that's kind of a bit insane that there's just those episodes are on there. Um, 3 episodes of just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on there. So you have like 3 episodes on there. It's kind of a bit like crazy, really, that there's only about 3 episodes on there. Because for a DVD, they can have in a lot more episodes. It kind of reminds me of the Doctor Who vanilla releases, because I remember Doctor Who had these vanilla DVDs they're called, because they were basically just DVDs that had just the episodes. This is like series one, volume two, and this is exactly what you got basically, because these came out when the series I think was still being broadcast, but it was like at the time either that or it was just like basically you got this before the full series box set where people could get these DVDs probably at a cheap price or whatever, and basically you just got to watch about 3 episodes of the series. They had about volume two here. There's also a volume four for like the final episodes. I never actually had these. I'd never heard of the DVD files, by the way, but that was a magazine apparently, I think it was, with DVD episodes included, but didn't have this. But the episode, but I did have. I remember my cousin had these, and I borrowed one of these. I have one of these, I think, still here, which is volume one DVD. But yeah, my cousin had volumes one, two, and three, and I think he had I think there's also a Runaway Bride DVD and maybe a series three DVD. But yeah, these were volume vanilla releases. They were called because they basically were vanilla in that they were just bland, generic sort of things. They just had the episodes on there. Nice, cool little bit of artwork on there, but yeah, they just had those. I think they finished after with series seven, which was with parts one and two sort of thing. I mean, they did series 10 part one and part two, but that's got quite a number of episodes on there. And not got about like just the typical 3 episodes or something. It's not like these DVDs. The thing about these ones as well is actually they got PSP DVDs as well, which was pretty cool. Like you can see here PSP sort of DVDs on there, which I never had a PSP, but it's just funny that you could get these episodes on your PlayStation Portable to just watch anyways. But yeah, it was just a little thing to mention there with the Ninja Turtles sort of vanilla DVDs and going back to Doctor Who sort of vanilla DVDs. But moving back to Tunatic, they had probably TMNT 2003 and a lot of other stuff like that. They had those episodes on there, sort of thing. So they had those on there, basically to take a look at and to watch, which was pretty cool. So you had the I had about 3 episodes out, which is kind of cool sort of thing. But as I said, it was just kind of a bit kind of pathetic that they had about 3 episodes on there and that's it. There's not many episodes on there. It's kind of a bit like, about 3 episodes on one disc, really. And that was it you got. That's all you got, really. But yeah, Tunatic was a big throwback, and the thing is, it was a throwback where I couldn't remember the name because the thing is, I probably wouldn't have remembered too much of like the website or anything because it ended in 2010, and so my memories are a bit vague. I can remember 2008, and I think I might have remembered Brave and the Bold, so I kind of might have remembered that. But yeah, because it was very much in my very early years, it's very much in the back of my head, sort of like not remembering too much and not even remembering the name, but I remember bits and pieces like the studio. I can definitely recognize the pink or blue thing, and here they had, kids would be on the show apparently, and and basically what would happen is basically with Tunatic is that what would happen is the kids would be split into teams. You had the boys and then the girls apparently, and you'd have to see which one would win. And basically, if the girls won, they pied the boys in the face, and then the other way around, if the boys had lost, and then the girls would pie the boys in the face, sort of thing, or the other way around, sort of thing. It depends on which team wins. They get to pie the other team in the face. Um, so yeah, this was something that I very much remember, and I didn't realize, but there's the video talking about Tunatic on YouTube, and basically I found out that there was a reboot of Tunatic, which I had no idea about. I had no idea that Tunatic got kind of a reboot. I'm not sure how Tunatic is at the moment, if it's still going on, but yeah, I think there was some video I saw about Tunatic. It was like remember Tunatic or something. I can't remember what it's called now, the video. Yeah, a retrospective mini documentary, I think it was this one, featuring Jamie Rickers, where the guy who did the video got the Jamie Rickers to talk about Tunatic, which was a really cool little bit, I think. I thought it was very cool. It was cool to hear about that. And it's interesting hearing about that. But yeah, it was a bit of a nostalgic sort of session, really, to talk about Tunatic. And another program, a channel that I remember at the same time as Tunatic was Jetix, which I remember Jetix. It was such a throwback, really, to have this. Really, I mean, Jetix was basically a apparently it was called Fox Kids originally, which I knew about, and then it changed to Jetix. And Jetix was the home to a lot of like I can't remember what cartoons too much there were on there because I can't remember too many of the cartoons that were on there, but they had a number of different programs on there, sort of thing, and sort of they had a UK version of it. I remember that ran for a bit, and then basically what had happened is I remember actually the day that Jetix finished. I remember when Jetix had basically stopped. It had like a little thing telling Jetix was no longer the air. I can't remember too much what it said, but it was no longer available. And then basically what happened is Disney XD was the replacement for it because Disney, I think, owned Jetix. Jetix was owned by Disney, which was a interesting little thing. But Jetix was something that I also have a bit of a throwback remembering. I do remember the name Jetix. That's something that I do remember, probably more so than Tunatic. So I definitely do remember watching probably quite a bit of Jetix. There was a Jetix magazine apparently. Oh, okay. I didn't know about this, but the UK said that, and the initial editor was Kevin Scott. That's a bit funny. So for those who don't know who he is, he's a writer. He's written for Star Wars recently, and he also wrote Doctor Who Titan comics. Actually, I remember he wrote the Ninth Doctor Titan comics. So that's a bit of a funny thing seeing his name pop up on this children's network. I remember. And actually, one thing I do remember about Jetix actually is they did have Power Rangers because it says originally originated from the Saban Entertainment Library, and Saban, if I'm right, is the company that owns Power Rangers. The big, yeah, see, Power Rangers from Saban. So Jetix, I definitely remember was like the home to Power Rangers. It's where you got a lot of your Power Rangers content. And then when Disney XD arrived, I remember Jungle Fury, I think it was called, was the Power Rangers show on there. I never watched a lot of Power Rangers, but actually that was a Power Rangers show I did watch a bit of. But I never really watched a lot of Power Rangers. But Jungle Fury was one that I do remember that was on Disney XD. That was uh it was definitely one that I definitely remember was on there. So that was definitely something that I remember. I remember a bit of Jungle Fury, and yeah, Jetix was something that I definitely remember. It was a big, it was definitely something that I remembered. I just couldn't remember too much on what programs there were on there. It's weird because I watched a lot of Jetix. I would have watched quite a bit of Jetix, but I just couldn't remember exactly what programs would have aired on that that show, on that program. I'm going to take a look to see what they had on there. Power Rangers, they had a lot of Power Rangers on there. Yeah. Digimon apparently. Incredible Hulk. So I'll see if I can find actually. Where's the UK? What's the UK got on there? The United States had someone's on there. Okay, so I mean the United States I'll go with. They had X-Men, yeah, I think they would have had X-Men. Some Spider-Man, I think they had on there. Batman the Animated Series, they also had on there, and also Avengers, they stand, which I never watched really. But yeah, no, I can definitely tell they had cartoons that I would have watched, probably like Spider-Man, the 90s animated show I would have probably watched on there. But yeah, no, I remember Jetix, a bit of a throwback. Oh, they mentioned Kim Possible as well just there, but yeah, no, I remember Jetix. It was definitely one that I also had a lot of throwbacks to, and that and Tunatic. So it's fun to go back and probably give it a little watch and just to talk about it, because yeah, it's a bit of a, with those two programs, they came around the same time and they ended around the same time, because it was around 2010, the new decade, that at that point when Jetix basically would finish and Disney XD would take over as the basically Jetix replacement. And I remember when Jetix had finished, the final broadcast of Jetix, Jetix was gone. And then I also remember with Tunatic, where I also remember Tunatic, and because it was finishing in 2010, it's kind of in the back of my head. But I think because I don't know, I just remember the name Jetix more so. I don't know why that is, but for some reason I do. I don't know too much of the programs compared to Tunatic, perhaps, but Jetix was definitely in my head. I definitely remember that name. So yeah, a bit of a throwback to me. Um, so moving away from that and talking aside from that, I want to go ahead and have this little thing here. This is my Tom Bakers I showed yesterday, well, no, last episode. Um, and I wanted to talk for a bit about Doctor Who, and because we have, I think, about half an hour to talk about it, because there is a lot to talk about regarding Doctor Who, and talking about basically what's going on with Doctor Who, because there's a lot to talk about with what's been happening with Doctor Who, because since I did that episode I recorded, it's basically now the Who-niverse, as it were, has been expanded, because that is actually the name for it. And because it's now the 2nd November when I've recorded this episode, basically this episode being recorded on the 2nd November means that we've just gone past what was the big news point I talked about in this on the first episode, which was that all of Doctor Who classic series would be on iPlayer with accessibility, including subtitles, audio descriptions, and sign language, so that anyone can enjoy them, which is really cool. And it is on iPlayer. I can show you. Very, very exciting. There's a lot to discuss as well, aside from this as well. But yeah, if I go on to iPlayer, if I go on to here, if I just close this a little bit here. So if you go onto iPlayer, there's a little thing here called Doctor Who. Every Doctor, every companion, every enemy, discover the Whoniverse, only on BBC iPlayer. You can also see there the Whoniverse little bit there, and you can see some of the programs they have on there. So, but if I go on to Explore Collection, bam, here's the Whoniverse. You can see here David Tennant as number 14, not number 10, for the upcoming 60th anniversary specials, which are in a couple of weeks, which is very, very exciting. Daleks there. Fourth Doctor from like season 17, City of Death. Martha Jones from Gridlock when she's in the rain. Not the most flattering image for Martha Jones, but you got her on there, which is cool. Gwen Cooper from Torchwood, and then Sarah Jane from the Sarah Jane Adventures. And this is a really cool thing. So there's a lot of Doctor Who on this. This is the whole segment on there. This is really something really cool and really special. So we've already had Doctor Who, the revival, here for at least about a couple of years, I think it was. But now we've got this, which is like 1963 to 1996, which this is on BritBox as well, but BritBox is a paid subscription. This is for free, and you also have more accessibility with subtitles, audio description, and also sign language. So this is really cool. And you have here pretty much all the episodes are on here. I should say, though, on season 1 here, the first episode is the Daleks. That's not the very first story. Doctor Who in the classic series had episodes that would be half an hour long, and it would be like multiple episodes telling one story. So one story could be like 4 episodes long. It's like a serial. They end on a cliffhanger and then they come into the next episode. Um, but basically, for season one, you have here the Daleks is on here as the first episode. That's not the first story though. The first one is an unearthly child. Now, not to get into too many details because I think this gives the guy attention. The writer of An Unearthly Child, his son, not the original writer, because the original writer of An Unearthly Child passed away, but his son is still alive, and he's basically this rambling conspiracy theorist type guy who just basically is refusing to get this story onto iPlayer, and he's selling them for DVDs or whatever. And it's just being a bit of an idiot. So I will just say that, and basically that's only what's happened. But aside from that, you have most of Doctor Who on here, which is really, really cool. And even the animated ones, like Power of the Daleks is on here, 10th Planet is also on here, which got animated. They're all in their episode format. And also Sharda is on here as well on season 17. So basically with season 17, there was a story called Sharda, which was never fully filmed. It became a very famous lost story that was meant to conclude season 17, a big 6-part epic story. Well, basically, they had a number of attempts of making it, ranging from Big Finish audio with Paul McGann. I should say as well, not going to talk about Big Finish, don't have any audios to review at the moment. Also, there's a lot to talk about with Doctor Who here with the Whoniverse and everything, so that's why I'm not going to talk about it. But talk about Big Finish. But there was a number of other attempts as well, books based on it as well. But they did release a Sharda DVD where they animated it, and it was basically it was feature length, where they had animated segments to fill in for the moments that weren't filmed originally. And you might have recognized some bit of Sharda because some scene in Sharda with the Doctor rowing a boat with Romana on the boat as well. Basically, what had happened is that little scene there would be used actually for the Five Doctors, where it was that and the Doctor, I think, getting into the TARDIS with his scarf stuck in the TARDIS door. Basically, it was an episode of it was basically those scenes got filmed, well, were used for the Five Doctors when the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, wouldn't appear in the episode of the Five Doctors. They basically decided to use Sharda clips and footage, and that was, I think, really clever because at the time, no one had seen Sharda really, so it was very much new footage to everyone to see. But Sharda got a feature-length version with animated segments, and also a moment at the end, I believe, where you have Tom Baker in full costume and get up as the fourth Doctor, looking a bit older, obviously, but he's there as the fourth Doctor, which is really cool. And I haven't seen Sharda myself, but I know about bits and pieces regarding it. And basically, for season 17 on the Blu-ray, they basically had that feature-length version, plus also a newer version of Sharda, where they basically took that feature-length version and put it into the original 6-episode plan on there, which is really, really cool. And that 6 episode that was in the season 17 Blu-ray is here on BBC iPlayer, which is really, really cool. And one thing that's actually really cool about Sharda on here is that I saw this online on Twitter, is that they haven't decided to say, oh, by the way, this never got fully done. As in, basically, this will say like this would have said like 2017 or whatever, because that's when the animated version got released. But no, it says here 1980, as in it was like as if it was like the original air date, which I think is just a cool little feature on there. But yeah, no, classic series is all on here, so you can take a look and see the humble beginnings of Doctor Who, which is really, really cool. But they also have, as well as that, Tales of the TARDIS, which I haven't watched yet. But basically, these are segments where I can't remember exactly fully what exactly they're about. I think it's basically the episodes, the stories here that are being shown here. Inside those stories, in terms of like a feature length, movie length sort of way, like an omnibus. But basically, what they do with those is they also have actors, the original actors from the classic series, reprising their roles, which is a really cool thing where they talk and they're playing their characters, reminiscing about their adventures, which is really, really cool. So you have here like Curse of Fenric, where you have Sylvester McCoy with Sophie Aldred, which is just really, really awesome. Um, This is very new, by the way. It's from the 1st of November, so these are all very much very new. Came out only yesterday, as of recording this video. And the Three Doctors one is really cool as well because you have here Joe Grant, the companion of the Third Doctor, with Clyde Langer, the companion, the friend of Sarah Jane Smith from the Sarah Jane Adventures, played once again by the actor. I can't remember his name now, but the actor who played Clyde Langer. I'll search up his name. Search up his name. Um, it is played by Daniel. I've forgotten his name now. I think it's like Daniel Anthony, that's his name. Daniel Anthony is here. It's really cool to see those two there. So that would be very cool to watch that. I'll watch these, I think, when I'm watching the episodes. I'm on a sort of classic Who watch. So for me, the first one I'll probably be watching is Vengeance on Varos because I'm on season 21 at the moment. Peter Davison's last season as the Doctor, which gets the introduction of the Sixth Doctor. So that will be when I get onto it. So you have here the Doctor and Perry meet again. So there's Perry there, and there's the Sixth Doctor, not in his colourful costume. He's just in whatever he wants to wear, which is fair enough because I don't know if Colin wants to really carry on wearing that costume, that colourful, multicolored coat that he once wore. You'll notice as well that there's about, I think, 6 of these. So the Fourth Doctor one is missing. There's no one for the Fourth Doctor era because I think a number of the actors are busy. Tom Baker has trouble traveling, I think. I think from what Matthew Waterhouse said, who plays Adric, one of the companions of the Fourth Doctor. So it's a bit tricky to get a Fourth Doctor one, unfortunately. So we have here, though, the First Doctor one with, the actor playing Stephen and Vicky, which is really cool. You have, so Stephen's played by Peter Purves, who you'll know as a presenter on Blue Peter, one of the earliest presenters on Blue Peter. You also have Maureen O'Brien, I believe her name is, playing Vicky. You have Sylvester McCoy, so the Eldred, Jamie, Fraser Hines, and Zoe, which is really, really cool. Tegan and the Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison as well, and Tegan, which is really cool. So this will be really cool. And I'm wondering if these, I'm guessing because of the length of these 111 minutes or whatever, that they're basically like the episodes, the stories are done into movie length versions, and in between you get the Doctor and companions, or rather in this case with pre-Doctor's companion and friend of Sarah Jane, reminiscing about these adventures and talking about them, which I think is really, really cool. I'll definitely be interested in checking this out. I did check out, because it was last night, I was watching 2 things that were on BBC4, which you can take a look on iPlayer. One is Talking Doctor Who, which I thought was a pretty nice documentary sort of thing, where basically David Tennant is the host of this, and he basically goes through the first Doctor's era all the way to the 8th Doctor's era, where you get these archive interviews with past actors playing the Doctor. So you get like Peter Davison, William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, and John Pertwee. There's some that I've seen before, and also some that I haven't seen at all that I've not seen before, which is really cool. And you also got to see some behind the scenes filming, like David Tennant reacting to the Fourth Doctor's regeneration, as in how it was filmed. And he's talking about that, and he's got this giddy fanboy sort of excitement, which I thought was really, really nice to watch. So I thought this was a really nice 1 hour documentary that just had a nice way of like seeing the different actors talking about Doctor Who and everything. And you just had a really nice, it's a nice little thing to celebrate Doctor Who. And you also saw the intro before playing of the Whoniverse, which was the Whoniverse intro, which was playing before this thing came on BBC4, which is really, really cool. And it was a cool little thing that's like Marvel Studios intro, where it's going to be kind of like the MCU, but Doctor Who's going to go not as big with it. And actually, I will say as well with Tales of the TARDIS is that it is cool, that it is nice as well that with the actors playing the Doctor, for instance, they haven't done some CGI de-aging them. They've just done what they just shown the actors as they are. It's what they did also with Power of the Doctor, and I like that. I really like that they've done that. I think some people talked about it's better than what they've done with like, because I with Hayden Christensen, because I haven't seen Ahsoka yet, the Disney Plus series, but I know that Anakin is in it and Hayden Christensen reprises the role. But I also noticed that apparently they've de-aged sort of Hayden Christensen by CGIing his face a bit, and it's kind of a bit funny because Doctor Who has like let's get Colin Baker here looking with a white beard and hair, whatever, and then also have Peter Davison with white with white hair or whatever, and Janet Fielding as she is, and let's just have these actors from the past just playing as the same characters and just looking like this, looking older as they were now at the time. It's just funny that they've done that, and it's also better, I think. It's just like it doesn't matter, and it's also just funny as well, considering that Hayden Christensen being like de-aged is a really bizarre thing, because Hayden Christensen really doesn't need de-aging. If anything, he just looks the same as he did back in 2005 when Revenge of the Sith came out. It's kind of a bit funny, really. But you had Talking Doctor Who on there, and then this was something that I kind of saw before it aired on the telly. It was kind of something I heard, basically, because this was on BBC Sounds. This was something that aired on BBC. This was on BBC Sounds, I remember, which was like the app for BBC audio work. So if I go onto here, onto Doctor Who on BBC Sounds, they had a this thing which was a 60 Doctor Who at 60, a musical celebration, and so Doctor Who at 60, a musical celebration, was is still on here on BBC Sounds. And basically what it was, it's about 2 hours on the BBC Sounds. This is shortened down to 88 minutes. So some bits are cut off, like interviews, and some songs are cut off. But basically, if I was to summarize this, it's like BBC at the proms with Doctor Who, which Doctor Who has done Doctor Who at the proms before. But the difference with this is that basically you have a different concert, not the proms, and you basically got to listen to music from Doctor Who's past being celebrated with the composer. Most of it is Murray Gold music, but you basically got these iconic pieces from Doctor Who being played live in an orchestra. And this 88-minute version was basically a filmed version where you got to see actually the concert being performed live. You got to see the interviews with some of the people. So they had interviews. There was one that was cut off. They didn't show the interview they did with Emily Cook, who was basically someone who orchestrated the live lockdown rewatches of Doctor Who back in 2020, which I remember. And she kind of was seen as the person responsible for Russell and David and Catherine coming back, because when David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Russell T Davies were rewatching the episodes of The Stolen Earth Journey's End, the series 4 finale, they basically went ahead, and Catherine, I think, started it, apparently saying it'd be a laugh to come back. And then that's what led to them actually coming back into the show. So that's really, really cool. She has her interview on the BBC Sounds. It's just unfortunate that she didn't have hers filmed or shown on the BBC broadcast. But you have Russell T Davies got interviewed. Stephen Moffat got interviewed. He was the first showrunner to get interviewed. And then they basically had Stephen Moffat, and then they had Chris Chibnall and Segun Akinola. Segun Akinola is the composer for Jodie Whittaker's era. And he was he was talking with Chris Chibnall, and then they played, after Chris Chibnall and Segun Akinola were interviewed by Zoe Ball, who was the host of the concert. Basically, after they were interviewed, the concert then played a suite of Segun Akinola's music, which was really cool to listen to. You also had two people who were known for composing the classic series as well, which was really cool. And they got interviewed, and then they had their music of the classic era was played for a suite, which was cool. Most of it, though, was Murray Gold music, which was nice, but it would have also maybe been nice to see, or rather listen to, more of the other music from other composers like Segun Akinola or classic music. But it was still cool to listen to it. So some music pieces got cut out on the broadcast, I recognized. So some of them were the Doomsday track got cut out. That was one of them. But they did keep in, what was it? The Long Song, which was a very beautiful track, nearly made me tear up a bit. I teared up, I remember when I was listening to this for the first time. I teared up, I was getting emotional at the song that played in A Christmas Carol. I think it's called Abigail's Song, where it's the song that the character of Abigail has to sing to save the ship that's about to crash down, that Amy and Rory are in. And I got really moved by that piece. It's a really beautiful track. The Long Song's also really good. And actually, one thing they cut out in the broadcast of this, on the one that's been shown on the telly, was that they cut out this bit where after that piece played, Abigail's song, and before I think Stephen Moffat came on to be introduced after that piece was played, basically Joe Wiley said, mentioned about how that episode of Christmas Carol had guest star Michael Gambon in the episode, and she mentioned that because I believe when this concert had been was playing live about a month ago or something, it was not too long, I think, after Michael Gambon had passed away, so they mentioned that, and that was kept in the BBC sound version, but they didn't keep it the um in the broadcast. But they kept the new pieces that they were showing off, which were 3 new tracks that were going to be in the upcoming Doctor Who series. So you had the theme song, which is, I think, a pretty good theme song. I think Jodie Whittaker's one by Second Econo is still the best one in the revival, has a great sound of the 60s. And then you also had the Ruby Sunday theme, which I like the Doctor Who theme as well, by the way. It is a good one. Ruby Sunday's one was nice. It's a very melancholic, very quiet, sort of like very melancholic type of feel to it. It's got a piano and violins, bit of a longer piece track, but it was nice, and I think I will listen to it more often and see what I think of it more so often. The one that really stood out for me was the 15th Doctor's theme, which was very exciting, very good, and the opening sounds of it sounded very Thunderbirds, very military-like, which I really like listening to. And you did get Murray Gold being interviewed as well, which was cool, and it was nice to hear from him as well. And yeah, this was nice seeing it at least broadcast. It was interesting that they cut out some bits and pieces, but I think it was to keep up sort of the runtime. It's 88 minutes anyways, and the BBC Sounds version is 2 hours, so it had to be shortened down, I imagine, to just keep up with the time. And yeah, these two were on BBC Four last night as for BBC Four, and I remember the continuity announcer said, tonight was Doctor Who night on BBC Four, so it was cool seeing those little celebrations. And I think with this universe, we're definitely seeing, and I was kind of predicting this with what was being announced, that once we get to November, when the specials are about to start airing in November time, at this point now, Doctor Who's celebration of 60 is now going to fully come in. Like, I think some people complained about how it's not really celebrating its 60th anniversary that much, but I think now we're starting to get more of that. And I think with November now hitting, it's like the 60th anniversary is coming to full swing. Plus, we also have a new showrunner for the 60th anniversary, which for an anniversary celebration of Doctor Who to have a new production team, that I don't think has ever really happened. So it was very much a case of trying to get everything started. But, I think they're doing a really darn good job at it, considering that this is a whole new production team having to start work on the show and everything. Whilst also trying to please fans in celebrating 60 years. So I think overall they've done a pretty darn good job. And the cool thing is, as well as those things, you also have Doctor Who Confidential, which is the behind the scenes, which was basically half an hour episodes taking a look behind the scenes of Doctor Who episodes. It always had those episodes, I think, aired after the original episode was broadcast. It was on BBC Three. I was too young to remember it, and I had the DVDs of it. I have the DVDs of Doctor Who series, and basically I had because the DVDs were basically cut downs, and the DVDs being cut downs meant that they were shorter than the half-hour segments, unfortunately. So I couldn't really see these full episodes. There is a YouTube channel, I think, that uploaded the full episodes, but now we have basically every episode, I believe, is on here, although I think one isn't here. I think it's series 6. I think it's episode 3, 4, 5. I don't know. I thought Series 6 had. Okay, so maybe Series 6 has sorted it out. I'm not too sure, but I think all the episodes are now sorted and solved. And to me, it's just awesome to see all these episodes on there. I'm definitely going to be watching them. I mean, I'm on my rewatch of the 10th Doctor era in celebration for the 60th anniversary. So I'm definitely going to be checking out these. What's cool about this actually is that for the there's one, they even have the 11th Doctor episode, which basically is this half-hour episode where it was a special episode where it would reveal the 11th Doctor, the actor who played the 11th Doctor, of course, Matt Smith. So that's cool seeing that. So it'll be cool to watch that because I've never seen that really. And yeah, it's really cool that they had this documentary on there. There is news actually that came out where basically there is going to be a brand new Doctor Who program on there. There is going to be a brand new Doctor Who program to take a look behind the scenes that will air on BBC Three after the episodes are broadcast, with the specials that are coming up on BBC One and of course Disney Plus across the world, which is really bizarre seeing that, especially on Disney Plus accounts where you see it being advertised on Disney Plus. It's kind of weird. But basically there's going to be a new show to be like Doctor Who Confidential called Doctor Unleashed, which I'm very excited to check out. I'll definitely watch those episodes after they finished airing the episodes. So yeah, very, very cool. K9 and Company's also here, which is a 80s one-off episode that basically was trying to be a pilot to a spin-off, potential spin-off of Doctor Who with K9 and Sarah Jane. It's kind of the Sarah Jane Adventures before the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is here as well. All the episodes are on here. Plus also Torchwood, the adult sci-fi spin-off, as well as animated Doctor Who works like Dreamland, which is the 2009 computer animated Doctor Who program, which I do remember actually. I wasn't a big Doctor Who fan in 2009 compared to how I am now, but I do remember watching that because it was animated and I'm like animation. And then there's the Infinite Quest, which was from 2007, and I'm on to series 3 at the moment on my 10th Doctor rewatch, and I'll definitely watch this with series 3. I think I'll watch this at the halfway point of series 3. This is a 2D animated, flash animated, I think it is, adventure with the 10th Doctor and Martha, which is pretty cool. There's a Class, which is the BBC Three adult sci-fi spin-off like Torchwood, but it's set in the Coal Hill School, which was the school that Doctor Who kind of began with, because the Doctor's granddaughter in the very first episode was a student at this school, with teachers Ian and Barbara coming along and eventually traveling with the Doctor and Susan in adventures through time and space. So Class is on here. I'll probably give it a rewatch actually, because I remember enjoying it when it came out, and I had no idea that, what was it, the very last episode of Class, The Lost, came out on my birthday on the 3rd of December, which is really funny that. But I remember enjoyed Class, but I kind of lost love of Class because of people talking and disliking it, and also just I think that it got cancelled, which was kind of like, you know what, I'm kind of a bit disappointed because there's a cliffhanger to Class, and it's kind of like, well, now we won't really see it resolved. It's kind of a bit of a shame, really. Dilo Derbyshire, The Myths and the Legendary Tapes is here as well, which is a documentary, I'm guessing, about the person who, Dilo Derbyshire, for those who don't know, helped create the original Doctor Who theme music, which is really, really cool. Science of Doctor Who, which is a show hosted by Brian Cox about the science behind, if you could do stuff like build a TARDIS, as it says, could you build a TARDIS? And taking a look factually at Doctor Who's science, which it'll be interesting. I'll have to give that a watch. I haven't really watched that. I have seen Doctor Who at the Proms. I've seen a bit of Doctor Who at the Proms. They've got 3 Doctor Who at the Proms here that are an hour long, celebrating the music of Doctor Who. This one's 74 minutes, but that's 2013 to be fair, with the Doctor's 50th anniversary. There's one here from 2010. There's also one from 2008. And yes, you saw a Cybermen on there, because I do remember when these proms are on, they do actually get the monsters to come out. So that's for the kids to enjoy as well. Like you get, what was it? The Daleks appear, Davros appears in the 2008 one, I remember. So that's really, really cool seeing that. And also with the 2008 one, you have basically what was it? David Tennant, I think, does a segment called Music of the Spheres, where he interacts with the audience and he basically has them on a sort of like mini Doctor Who adventure, which is just there. But yeah, that's that. And also Who's Doctor Who, which is a documentary from 77, where I believe it's to do, this was on the season 14 Blu-ray as well, where they even got a revisiting of some of the people who apparently were on that documentary, where these kids are being interviewed about Doctor Who, and you also had, I think, Tom Baker appearing a little bit as well, which I have to give that a watch as well. But yeah, I think it's safe to say now with this Whoniverse here on iPlayer in the UK, it's like we as Doctor Who fans are definitely blessed. We're absolutely blessed to just have so much Doctor Who content on here. It's absolutely amazing, really. I'm really amazed at what they've been able to do with the accessibility and also the amount of content on here. And that's only just there to come. Actually, I should say as well, because there's so much to talk about Doctor Who, the 60th anniversary recently got also the air dates coming out. So basically the air dates will come along. So we have 3 episodes. There's 3 posters for them, which is really, really cool. This is the first one called the Star Beast, which will air on the 25th of November, I believe. So the 25th of November is when the first episode will air. 25th of November, which will be the episode based on the comic book, which was with the Fourth Doctor, and also which was the Fourth Doctor character which is with the Fourth Doctor, and has the aliens like the Scarabs here, I think they're called, and the Beep the Meep, who's been revealed to be voiced by Miriam Margolyes, which is very, very cool. And basically that they're characters from a comic book in the 1970s or 80s. And if you notice here, you can see here that the comic book cover art here is recreated in the poster for the 60th anniversary. You can see here the Doctor there covering the Meep, the Scarabs approaching. Very, very cool. The second one is the Wild Blue Yonder. This is very exciting for me because this comes out on the 2nd of December, which is a day before my birthday, which will be on a Sunday, my birthday. And Saturday, of course, will be 2nd of December, where this episode will air. This is also an episode that's got most fans excited because most people don't know what's going on. The first and third episode had some scenes filmed on location, so people got to see some of the filming there, and it kind of got leaked about a bit, like David Tennant's costume and Neil Patrick Harris being revealed in the episodes. And speaking of him, Neil Patrick Harris here, he's playing the Toy Maker, classic villain from the 1960s. And he basically is going to return here after 60 years. Very bizarre, very crazy that he's here. Nearly 60 years, I'm guessing, because it was a couple of years after Doctor Who's debut when he first appeared with the first Doctor. But yeah, Neil Patrick Harris is playing a new take on the Toy Maker, and this will be the Giggle, which airs on the next Saturday after the Wild Blue Yonder, which I can't remember. Wild Blue Yonder. Okay, so there's the posters here, bigger posters you can see here of Wild Blue Yonder. There's a little robot there. It's mostly filmed on set, not really on a location, so that's why it's so secretive. And I'm very excited to see what they do with the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, mainly because not many people know about it, and it's just cool that it's on near the week of my birthday. So that's very cool for a 60th anniversary. And there's the Giggle with Neil Patrick Harris playing the villain here of the Toy Maker. And the release dates have been coming out. So the Giggle will come out at some point in next Saturday. So I have to take a look at the calendar dates. So 25th. So 9th of December. So 9th of December we'll see the Giggle. And actually what's crazy about this is that some people were kind of predicting as to where the dates would come on. I kind of predicted 25th November would be either the Giggle airs, the third episode. So it starts at the 11th of November for, I believe, the first episode. But what's interesting as well is it was either that, or if it was I was either predicting the Giggle would air on the 25th of November as the end point, or it would be episode 1. You know, I kind of predict that sort of thing. The interesting and cool thing about this is that with the Giggle airing on the 9th of December, it means then that Ncuti Gatwa, who's going to be number 15, of course, his first episode will air not too long after, because his episode, we know that not only are we getting the 60th anniversary specials, but we're getting a Doctor Who Christmas special. We've not had a Christmas special since Twice Upon a Time in 2017. You know, after when we got to Jodie Whittaker's era, 13th Doctor era, it was New Year's Day specials instead. But now we're getting back to Christmas episodes, which is very, very cool and very exciting to see them return. It's nice to have a bit of a break, and it's nice to see sort of them come back, I think, to build excitement, to get excitement. And with the Christmas special, obviously being on Christmas Day, it's not too far away from the Giggle, so we won't have to wait too long for Ncuti Gatwa's full episode. Although with the 60th anniversary episodes, the trailers have shown a little bit of Ncuti Gatwa from the trailers. So number 15 has shown to appear a little bit in the 60th anniversary. We're going to see at least a little bit of him in this episode. So if I go on to the 60th anniversary, they had the trailer that came out not too long ago. It was about a month or two ago, but they had they showed a new image of Ncuti Gatwa, where it was in the trailer, I believe it was. Let's see if I can find it. It was an image of Ncuti Gatwa. There we go. That's the image here, where it was at the very end of that trailer. So we know that we're going to see a little bit of him. And actually, some people might be thinking, well, might predict, which past Doctors are going to appear in this 60th anniversary celebration. I personally think that we won't really get that. I think what we're going to get is the 14th Doctor and the 15th Doctor, which is kind of a multi-Doctor episode. And I think some people have, talked about this. And personally, for me, as a fan of the show, I do like, multi-Doctors appearing. But I think because we've had those appear in every anniversary episode, it's kind of predicted. I do like that instead of that, we're getting something different when it comes to multiple Doctors appearing. Instead of, past Doctors, we do get a past Doctor with David, but he's playing number 14. So he's playing sort of a new incarnation that just has an old face of one of the previous Doctors. So it's a different incarnation with a new fate, it's a new incarnation, but just has an old face. And then as well as that, we get number 15, Ncuti Gatwa, and I think those are the Doctors that will just appear in them. That might disappoint some people. I think it's more exciting to see that because it means that we're getting something a bit more different when it comes to, having a anniversary celebration of Doctor Who. Because I think it's very predictable to be having multiple Doctors, and I think it shakes up the formula, makes it a bit more interesting, and I like that we're getting something a bit different. Plus, also, I think, it's just cool that I think that we're getting not just one anniversary celebration that's like an hour and a half or so long. We're getting hour-long, I imagine they're hour-long anyways, 3 hour-long episodes of 60th anniversary. So that's about 3 hours of a Doctor Who story celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who, because I know the episodes will have their own sort of storyline and everything. They're all going to be connected, I imagine, in some way. And I'm just very excited to see what goes on. It's very, very cool to see what we're doing with Doctor at 60. And this little image here is now really approaching. The Diamond anniversary is really coming into full swing. And I'm also excited to see what they do with Ncuti Gatwa as number 15, because we don't really know too much about him. But I think with the 60th anniversary, we'll see a little bit of him. I think my prediction, I've always predicted this for quite a long time now when it comes to the 60th anniversary, with what's been going on. I kind of predict that with the first episode, we won't really see Ncuti at all. It will just be David as the star. I think we'll see Ncuti start to appear at the very least in the second episode, and then eventually he's going to almost be like appearing a bit in the third episode. Not sure how much, but I think he's going to appear. He's going to appear more and more as the stories progress. I think he's going to start to slowly build up, and we're going to see what happens. I think the behind the scenes seems to indicate that. I was talking to a friend of mine saying that he might have been disappointed by number 14. It's just number 14 is number 14. There's no real reason behind it. I'm not sure. I'll have to see what happens, but hopefully there's some reason or interesting reason as to why number 14 has kind of been like appearing. I don't think this is true at all. This was a fan theory, but one cool fan theory I saw online, I was reading or I saw online, was that the toy maker, this guy here, was the one responsible for the regeneration. So basically, Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor, was supposed to regenerate into Ncuti Gatwa, but didn't, and instead regenerated into number 14. Now, my prediction was kind of like, not my prediction, actually, the theory that I saw online was that he is basically a take that the toy maker here is a meta commentary on fans and then nostalgia, the need for nostalgia, and he basically causes the Doctor to regenerate into an old face because it's a favorite and it's one that he wants to see battle against or whatever. And then maybe the episode could be about moving on, perhaps to away from nostalgia, and that I think would be very interesting, and that I think would be kind of cool. I don't know if that's really going to happen, but whatever happens, I'm very interested to see what goes on. And I think for the podcast, I will probably do about once these episodes are broadcast, I'll do an episode where it will just be me, I think, talking about about the episodes, because I think with what's going on, there's going to be a lot to talk about, and already there's a lot to talk about with all the excitement that we've been getting. I don't think I've mentioned every single thing that's been going on with Doctor Who news, but these are the main things I want to talk about that have happened since the first episode of the podcast. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I mean, it's crazy that we're approaching near the end of of the wait of the 6th anniversary. It's been a while to wait, but finally we're getting near that air date. I'm currently, and as I said, I'm on the rewatch of Doctor Who at the moment. So I basically did a Doctor Who's, I did on Twitter, I'm posting this on Threads as well, a ranking of series 2, because I finished watching that not too long ago, which was David Tennant's first series as the 10th Doctor, and I'm moving on to series 3. I am going to get onto the Runaway Bride. I finished the Runaway Bride, which was the Christmas episode from 2006, set after series 2, and I'm then the next episode for me now is series 3, when it fully starts with Martha Jones in Smith and Jones. So I'm going to get around to that. I'm very excited to rewatch this, actually. And the one thing about series 3, actually, I'll notice is that I have the DVD of series 3. I have it in my room, actually. If I just go ahead and get it. Oh dear, the microphone's fallen off a bit. But I have here the series 3 DVD of series 3. I'll go ahead and I'll show you this here on my screen here on the bottom part. You have it here on the Amazon DVD cover. I have it here as well. It is the image here. Well, the thing is about this DVD is this is the slimline version. So basically the content on the disc is the same as the original DVD. It's just they've repackaged it. It's the same thing they did with classic Doctor Who when they released the classic series on DVDs. So the collection was what they were called, and they had them in these limited edition packaging, which I collected some of them. But then eventually what happened is they basically re-released them on the internet's not working. The collection basically would re-release these DVDs on would release classic Doctor Who on Blu-ray. So basically classic Doctor Who would get HD re-releases. They originally just had them on DVD. There was only one episode, I think one story, Spared from Space, on Okay, a bit of a technical difficulty there. The computer suddenly Zoom stopped at some point, and eventually, yeah, it unfortunately caused a bit of a technical thing. But hello again, hello everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulty. To be fair, what was it? I should say as well that I was about to wrap up the podcast. Probably, I realized that I took a look at the length; it's about an hour and 12 minutes. So I was gonna wrap it up anyways. So I'll just quickly wrap it up. I'll do like a last bit of it. But basically, as I said in my podcast, I'm on the rewatch of series 3. I'm on to series 3 now of Doctor Who. So I basically went through. So I mentioned the collection at some point as well, and the reason I mentioned this was to connect it to the DVDs I have here of the revival, because basically the original classic Doctor Who collection Blu-rays, sorry, the collection Blu-rays, they were in these limited edition packaging. They still do them now. These packaging of going ahead and releasing them in these classic limited edition Blu-ray sort of thing. But if you notice the ones that have the blue symbol on there, you'll notice that the blue, if you notice the Blu-ray sort of banner there, that's for ones that are in the standard edition. So they're in the standard sort of packaging. Because basically those standard edition packaging means that basically you don't have a booklet that has quite an extensive amount of detail, and you also don't have a massive large packaging like you do with the collection Blu-rays. You can see sort of here with this one here, this one has a bit of a big packaging. This one here as well, they have these booklets, almost these big large bookcases almost sort of thing, and you also have a booklet in there that has a bit of detail to them. But for the Blu-rays of the standard edition, they are slimlined down. You don't get a detailed booklet, but they're not as big and extensive like you can see here with season 23, which I own as well. There's just mostly the discs and a less detailed booklet, and just standard Blu-ray packaging. It helps fill in space, and it's also great because it means then that you can pick up ones that you perhaps didn't have, and also for ones that you missed out on your collection. And also if you've basically, for those of you who have if you've missed out on
if you've missed out on these collection Blu-rays and you also think that they would cause up too much space, I want to, have more space with my Blu-rays and DVDs and not have to purchase such large booklets, Blu-rays that are in limited edition packaging. Well, the slimline Blu-rays are what exactly they're there for. So that's really cool, I think. And I finished series 2, as I said, for Doctor my Doctor Who rewatch. So I finished series 2 recently with the 10th Doctor's first series with Rose, and I watched The Runaway Bride. That was the latest episode I watched, which was part of series 3's Blue DVD, and it takes place just after series 2. So that's the first episode actually with Donna. So it's nice to watch that actually because it's the first episode with Donna. It's nice to take a look at her first appearance in Doctor Who before she eventually takes on as a full-time companion, because this is originally just a guest appearance by Catherine Tate. So it's cool seeing that, and it's interesting watching that really. And obviously, I think within the context of this just being a one-off thing, I think it's interesting seeing that. Web of Fear, that's a funny little reference to a Doctor Who episode from the 60s. But anyways, the the Runaway Bride, the thing about it's only a guest appearance from Catherine Tate, but I think I watched the episode probably with the knowledge that Donna, of course, returns. So I do have that sort of context in mind. I do like Donna anyways, and the ending is quite nice and interesting when you watch it because you get sort of a sense that Donna's saying, "Am I going to see you again?" And then the 10th Doctor says, "If you're lucky," and it almost seems like the Runaway Bride, it was deliberate that Donna was going to return. It wasn't, but it's just amazing that it almost feels like that when you watch that ending of the Runaway Bride. But I'm on to series 3, as I said, and I have the DVD of series 3. But I mentioned the classic Doctor Who collection Blu-rays because the standard edition sort of thing is kind of what the Doctor Who DVDs of the revival did as well, because the DVDs of the revival had these bigger booklets, these bigger casings and packages and everything. They looked like that. That was one of the covers, and you also have this cover with the Master on there. So they had these packaging that was a bit bigger. But then in 2014, I checked the release date, 2014, they basically re-released them in the slimline packaging. So you can see here, something very slim. They don't really have a booklet on them as well. Same sort of cover and everything. And if you go onto here with the booklet they have here, they just have a little booklet. It's like one little page sort of thing. The back here is the episode names and the special features, and then over here is basically the little artwork they have. And this is the slimline for series 3. And I want to mention this as well because the original cover art looks like that. You have that image there of the Doctor there with the Master, John Sim, bit of a plot twist story. Sorry, actually, the bit of a spoiler, sorry for that. But that's a little figure there, John Sim's character there. And then you have here Martha Jones with the Doctor on there on the cover art sort of thing. So basically you have you have Martha Jones there with the 10th Doctor sort of running and everything. You have that sort of cover art. It works. You have the Master there, that works. And you have, I think the thing surrounding them is the TARDIS, like the little bits of pieces around them is the TARDIS sort of thing. And there's also them running towards an explosion sort of thing. That's the same sort of like image you kind of get with that sort of like 10th Doctor and Martha sort of thing. I'm excited to watch it to see Martha again and the 10th Doctor. But yeah, you have that. And with series 3 slimline DVD, there's this cover art which looks kind of cool. It's got Daleks surrounding them, and there's this first person POV shot of a Dalek as well, watching the 10th Doctor and Martha. The only thing about it that I find bizarre is that it doesn't really fit. It's a bit odd because that's there as well. And if you go onto my DVD here of series 3, there's the DVD cover art with the 10th Doctor and Martha there. And if you go onto the back, if you go onto like the artwork they have here, so there's the special features there, the name of the episodes as well. And then there's the artwork, which is the Dalek there. It's a Dalek, it's not the Doctor or Martha, which they usually do with these artworks. They usually have the Doctor and Companion on there, but they just have the 10th Doctor and Martha. They just have a Dalek on there. And it just makes it look like the Daleks are such a prominent thing in this series when they are in a two-parter episode like they've been in before in series 1 and series 2. But that was the finale episodes, and the episodes they're in series 3 are the midpoint episodes. They're just not really there in the midpoint, and they're not part of the story arc or anything. They're not the main sort of threat really in series 3. They're not the main sort of threat. So it's a bit bizarre really that they're given such prominence on the series 3 DVD. Very bizarre sort of thing, really. It's a bit bizarre there. Actually, one thing as well about series 3, I should say as well, is that if you go on to the DVD sort of thing, and I have this on DVD anyways, but they have it as rated PG. The most of the series of series 1, 2, 4, and the specials, they're all rated 12, but this one's a bit of a PG sort of rating. I guess this is not as hardcore as other Doctor Who seasons on DVD or Blu-ray, but yeah, I'm on to series 3, and I'm gonna eventually have to get round to watching them. I might do a quick sort of binging sort of thing, and then ranking and rating series 2 sort of thing and then I'm gonna get onto series 3. But I'm definitely excited to check it out, especially to see Martha Jones as a companion who I do like, and also to go ahead and check out some really good episodes. I remember I rewatched for the lockdown, which I mentioned before, the Human Nature and Family of Blood. That's a really good story. I remember I really enjoyed that one. You also have Blink there as well, which is good. I mean, that's series 3 as well. Like there's a vanilla DVD of series 3, which is really, really good. It's a really cool DVD sort of cover art sort of thing, with it being the series 3 volume 3 DVD. So I can search it up on here, and I'll share the screen for you people to see. You have here, there you can see sort of like the series 3 cover art sort of thing on there. So you have here the 10th Doctor, Martha, and the scarecrows from Human Nature, Family Blood. You also have Blink, and that's just a really darn great DVD, just filled with 3 and 8 really good episodes. The same applies to this one actually here, series 4 volume 3 as well. Seems like volume 3 is a magic number, because you get here on series 4 volume 3, as well as series 3 volume 3 has these episodes, really good episodes, Human Nature, Family of Blood, and Blink. Then you have series 4, and you get the Science of the Library, Forest of the Dead, one of the best two-parters, and probably one of Stephen Moffat's best stories, and Midnight, which is a really terrific, terrifying episode. So that's a great collection of episodes as well. So volume 3 for series 4 and 3 is like really good. And the thing is, that's the same number on the discs on a box set. So like series 3 disc 3 contains Blink, Human Nature, and the Family of Blood. Though because this is from 2014, the one I have here is from 2014. It doesn't have the cover art of the disc is not that. It's a weeping angel. So if I take out the disc, actually, I'll just show you what you guys are seeing. You can see if I stop sharing for a little bit, you can see hopefully that there is a weeping angel on there. And the reason is because this is from 2014. You can see here, this is from 2014. So these DVDs are around Pierre Capaldi's time when he was the 12th Doctor. So the time has changed a bit, where if it was from 2007, it probably would have the scarecrows from the Human Nature, Family Blood. It's the two-parter, makes sense. But because Blink is such an iconic episode, and it's also the episode which debuts the Weeping Angels, it makes so much sense for obviously to advertise it on the disc, oh, this is the Weeping Angels episode. So it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes sense, I guess, to have it. Though I personally would have had the scarecrows on there for Human Nature, Family Blood. I mean, in terms of the time being that it's 2014, Weeping Angels are very popular. That makes sense. But also equally, I think it makes sense to just have the scarecrows on there, because the scarecrows are the villains that are representing the Human Nature, Family Blood. They're in the two-parter. Makes very good sense. But I mean, it comes down to either one. It comes down to, I think with the Weeping Angels, it makes sense for the time period. But I think for me, I might have just had the scarecrows on there instead. And because, of course, and as I said before as well with series 3, I am going to watch The Infinite Quest, which was made in 2007. Now, they haven't had this added in onto the Whoniverse yet, but they will, I think, apparently add Totally Doctor Who, which was made before Sarah Jane Adventures. It was a CBBC program that I didn't watch because I was too young really to remember it, but apparently it was from 2006 to 2007. And basically it was a Blue Peter style program with the 10th Doctor. It was not with the 10th Doctor, was the Doctor at the time, but it was with these presenters talking about Doctor Who. And it was a Doctor Who program that was like Blue Peter, a sort of magazine style show, like the One Show almost, with kids apparently doing little competitions as well, including the Absorbaloff, which was in Love and Monsters, was originally designed by a kid who won a competition in Totally Doctor Who, which that's I think pretty cool. That I think was a really cool thing. And I actually do like that creation and that episode, Love and Monsters. I put that episode not at the low spot, my series 2 ranking. And in 2007, that was in 2006 with Totally Doctor Who, the Absorber of. But in 2007, the Infinite Quest was made, which was a couple of little like 10-minute or something shorts, I think it was. And then eventually those 10-minute shorts eventually got released as one episode of Doctor Who that's about 47 minutes. And they released that on DVD as like a BBC children's DVD. So it's, its tone will be probably more for children, more so than series 3 was and most of regular Doctor Who. But yeah, it has a it is from June 2007. So I'm not sure actually when this came out in terms of a full-length episode, but I'll have to take a look. I was going to say midway through series 3 I'll watch it, but I'll see. I'll take a look and see what it's like. If it's after series 3 finished, I'll probably won't do that. I won't watch it after series 3. I'll watch it somewhere in between series 3 and put it as part of my series 3 ranking. Probably it'd be nice to do that. And yeah, it should be fun to watch that. And I'm excited to get around to watching the midpoint of the 10th Doctor's era, and hopefully I should watch all of his era before the 60th anniversary specials. I've just got to be committed and get around to watching the episodes. I'm definitely going to watch more than just like one episode a day. It'll be like about 3 episodes at the most, sort of thing. So that should be good. But for now, as I said in my previous first episode, I'm going to wrap up the podcast now. I think I've had enough to talk about. I've talked about quite a bit on this second recording. It seems that technical things, or at least I'm checking out technical things, seem to happen again and again. So, I mean, hopefully this won't become too much of a reoccurring theme for my podcast. But for now, as I say, I'm going to wrap up the episode. And yeah, I want to say thank you all for either watching or listening to the Chillaxing and Chit-Chattin podcast. As I say in my credits, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you want to take and stay updated with my videos. And I hope you had a good time with the episode. And I hope you just enjoyed the podcast. I hope you guys will hopefully enjoy this second episode, and hopefully I'll record more frequently than I originally did in my first episode about a couple of weeks ago, sort of thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I will hopefully keep you updated. I may do a Big Finish review on my next episode, so you will hopefully see that. And yes, we're, of course, as I said, there's a lot to talk about Doctor Who because we're approaching the Doctor Who month. But as I say, I will be talking about other things, and I hope you enjoyed the nostalgia section I talked about with Tunatic and Jetix, just a little rambling sort of talking about that particular time period. And it was a fun little thing to talk about. I might have to look into episodes of Tunatic because I haven't really watched too much of it, but it was just something that I remembered that was so vivid in my head. But as I said, thank you very much for watching or listening to the podcast. Please leave a like and subscribe, and hope you can check out and if you like this episode and never checked out my first episode, go ahead and check out my very first one as well to see where it all sort of began. And you should hopefully see me ready for a third episode. But until then, I will say stay chillaxing and remember to keep chit-chatting.